Rama Rama Hare Hare Jayo Gandharvika Giridhari Gandharvika Giridhari Gaura Hari Jayo Lakshmi Narasimha Jayo Ananta Dev Lakshmi Narasimha Jayo Ananta Dev Nitya Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। अष्टप्रादेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। Reading from Canto 1, Chapter 15, titled The Pandavas Retired Timely. We are today in the 43rd verse. Chiravasa niraharo baddhavak muktamurtajaha tarsayan atmano rupam jada unmakta pishashavet anaveksha samana nirkado ashavan bhadiro yataha. Word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. After that, Maharaj Yudhishthira dressed himself in a torn clothing, gave up eating all solid foods, voluntarily became dumb and letting his hair loose. All this combined to make him look like an urchin or a madman with no occupation. He did not depend on his brothers for anything. And just like a deaf man, he heard nothing. The purport is a very small one. We will read it. Purport. Thus, being freed from all external affairs, he had nothing to do with imperial life or family prestige. And for all practical purposes, he posed himself exactly like an inert mad urchin and did not speak of material affairs. He had no dependence of his brothers, who all along been helping him. This stage of complete, Prabhujis and Matajis, please focus on this line. This stage of complete independence from everything is called the purified stage of fearlessness. Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Udapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Ravilatam Tam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Krishna Padan Saganalita Shri Vishakanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev ki jai. Hare Krishna. I'll read the verse again. Chiravaso niraharo baddhavan muktamurtajaha darsayan atmano rupam jada unmata pishashavet anaveksha manaha niragat Ashravan Bhadiro Yataha. After that, Maharaj Yudhishthira dressed himself in a torn clothing, gave up all solid foods, voluntarily became dumb, and left his hair hang loose. All this combined to make him look like an urchin or a madman without no occupation. He did not depend on his brothers for anything, and just like a deaf man, he heard nothing. So, what we'll do is we will take, the previous. Just go back to the previous verse, the last line of the previous verse. what it says, the pure soul will be able to return home back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada purport. Or you go, sorry, this is in the 41st verse. So then you go to 42nd verse. Again, go to the last line. It says, uh, one must not only think of Brahman, but must act like Brahman. One who only thinks himself as Brahman is an impersonalist. And anyone who acts like a Brahman is a pure devotee. So Prabhupada makes it very clear, generally the last line or the first line. So the current topic is the one which we are discussing about Yudhishthira Maharaj, how he started to detach himself and from the material world, okay, and how he was trying to manage or rather merge into the consciousness of the divine. So we can refer to this as, for us, we can refer it as probably lessons from the exemplary retirement of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Okay, so this beautiful section is what we can do. We can learn a lot, right? Everyone was enjoying the examples of detachment. Parabhakti Mataji held in the examples alone. It was fantastic, right? It was very difficult, though it is a little difficult to cultivate or to inculcate. So I wanted to start, like I said, I'm going to take shelter of these previous two verses because this is a small subject. So everyone must have experienced this. At least I have been to this food factory. When we enter a factory or a processing industry, even a chip manufacturing industry, we will be given some things. We'll be given a shoes to wear because there will be an ESD mat or very clean atmosphere. Some jacket they'll give us, some headgear they'll give, some glasses they'll give because one is we should not get affected. Second is our impurity should not get into their, right? We should not pollute their products or their place. So what happens is you do the entire visit. When you start returning at one place, there will be four trays. What they'll do, they usually ask, give me your glasses back, whatever you wore last, you give it back, then your cover, then your jacket, then your shoes, right? Everything we need to return. Okay, same thing happens to individuals, right? Senses get merged into the mind. We saw that, right, in the previous verses, mind to life, life into breathing, and to five elements, and body to death. Same way, when we leave the body, we have to return all these things back from where we got it. That's the reason we cremate the body, finally immerse the ashes into the river. For Bengaluru, it is Kaveri. Whatever. We ensure that within some 24 hours, you return this back to the same Panchabhuta where it belongs. So we cannot think we can take all these things, right? We have to give up the gross and the subtle coverings also. That's why in the previous verse, it says that Yudhishthira Maharaj returned everything, and that's why he's able to come to Jivan Mukta stage or the liberated stage. Remember, this was in the material world itself. So the last thing to give up is the false ego. Due to that, we have, only because of that, we have, why? Because we have a lot of coverings we have on us, right? These coverings which we have accepted. It's a huge task to give them up. It's not no easy, right? I again go back to the same piece example. Okay. So you just tie a knot, for example, and see how difficult it is to remove the knot. Especially one other example I would like to add is that for those people who have shifted their residences, who are in rented houses, had to move to another house, it is so difficult when you put maybe one truckload of things, we put it in the van, and then we'll say something which is very unwanted also. No, 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 no. It might be useful for the next house. Somewhere it will be of use. Basically, we are not even willing to give up that thing which is not even useful for us. Such is our attachment. Right? One more example or analogy I'll give you, which we can understand this, the subject of detachment. So there was a man who had, in a village, who had, in a town, whatever, he had three sons, right? And he had built a fantastic house. Naturally, they have big land, a beautiful house, some five-bedroom house. Very passionately, he had worked on it, some architect. So, you understand, right? In a town, only one fellow had this massive house. So he had gone out on a trip or whatever, yatra. He came back and he saw the house being burnt. So this fellow, imagine his own house, so much passion, almost it was his life. He started crying, weeping. See how my entire dream is on flame. My dream house is on flame. Just then the first son came and told him, Dad, don't worry. I have sold this house. Just the last week, I finished the agreement. for 3 times more value than this house. Then immediately his tears stopped. He started just viewing it like others. So many people were viewing the fire. He also started viewing it like any other normal person. And almost there was a smile back. But then the next second son came and said, "Hey, what is this, Dad? You're smiling. The house is on fire." He said, "No, my first son told me he's sold. He's already." He said, "That is only an agreement. He's not yet registered." So again, he started weeping. Oh, this happened to me. So the point is, then again, the second son came and said, the first son came and said, "Don't worry. I just met the person who had signed the agreement. He's a man of gentleman, character, word given." He said, "Even though house is on fire, I'll still buy. The land has got value. I want this house." So again, our man started getting smile. Now, what is that we learned from this? What do we learn from this above story? The same man was crying first, was smiling again being upset and morose, only because he was identifying himself with the house, right? So the pain or pleasure we actually identify with something material. This material thing either actually has to go up or come down. That's the nature of the material matter, right? So that's why this entire canto, if you see the first canto, everywhere we saw, many are leaving this planet or going somewhere else. Like Narada Muni, you saw leaving his body, but he heard the Vani, you will become Shuddha Bhakta next life. Then seventh canto or something, we saw the 5 sons of Draupadi leaving the body. Ninth chapter, we saw exalted way of passing away of Bhishma Dev. And then Krishna departed to Dwaraka. Then we saw in 13th chapter Dhritarashtra quitting home, how Gandhari and how Vidura also left. The 14th chapter we saw the Supreme Lord go back, disappearance of Lord Krishna. 15th chapter we are discussing Pandavas retiring. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is preparing to go home, back to Godhead. So that's why sometimes this first canto is called Adhikara Leela, which means qualification required to study the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. What do we learn from this? Important qualifications that we must develop detachment and renunciation. Only then we can develop, only when we develop these two qualities, we would be able to approach Srimad Bhagavatam and understand other cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, leaving the body itself is not so easy, right? We all learned from Shastra that it's like 40,000 scorpions biting, right? We can't even imagine. Forget leaving the body. Just the thought of leaving itself traumatizes us. The fear of going away, the fear of dying, the fear of going alone, very, very traumatizing. So, but however, thanks to all the people who are currently in the Zoom, we all who are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, our fears have become less, our anxiety is gone. Only after reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, did personally, at least I come to know that the body, for this we need preparations. This is what is happening. This section of 43 to 51 is all about preparation, how Pandavas left the same self body, right? So we learned that this is until then we didn't know it. I didn't know, at least it was an art, unless we joined ISKCON and we associated with devotees and started reading Srila Prabhupada purport. So there is no art of living. That even cats, dogs, hogs can do that, right? So in the late 1960s, there was a physician who did some research. I think our dear Sumukha Gopesh Prabhu told that DABDA principle, right? So that Yudhishthira Maharaj, as soon as he came to know that Krishna has departed, he started preparing, right? He directly went to acceptance. Remember, Sumukha Prabhu told us that first was denial, anger, then some kind of bargaining, depression, then he got that process. Yudhishthira Maharaj did. He was in acceptance. He knew that his identity, and he got rid of his false ego. Actually, I am the emperor of the whole world. I was telling you, right, when we shift our homes, maximum, or when we have to go somewhere from one state to another state, people get transferred. Maximum, our home goods are 1 truckload, maybe bigger house, 2 truckloads. We really don't know what is giving up means. Imagine Yudhishthira Maharaj had entire planet. He had everything at his disposal. He still immediately renounced everything. Okay, as long as we identify with our body, it's very difficult. Once in Mumbai, one person was telling Srila Prabhupada in one of the classes, or he got up and said, this movement has to be done like that. You all have to spread like this. Something he was started giving suggestions. So Prabhupada said, please join us and help us. Okay. Immediately he said, no, I have a daughter. I have responsibilities. Srila Prabhupada said, even I had a daughter. Even I had sons. Okay. Obviously, we all know how it ended, right? Whether T or me, just Prabhupada left everything. So, as I said, this section of Adhikara Leela, qualifications. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj did not discuss it with anyone. Remember this. In the few verses, you will read that, right? He immediately gave up his kingdom, appointed Parikshit Maharaj and Vajranama, right? So, we came to know he not only gave up everything, in this verse you can make out he had dressed himself in a torn clothing, gave up eating, what is it, niraharo, not solid food, like we are going to celebrate tomorrow Ekadashi. We are also, you ask anybody, we are Nirahara, Prabhuji. I only took a couple of tender coconuts in that pulp. All that indirectly we keep taking semi-liquid. It is not solid, Prabhu. It is semi-liquid. It's not like that. He clearly, his Niraharo means not eating solid food. And then what did he do? He gave up all his garments, ornaments, everything. That's why I said he became like a jada Vyakti. In fact, Prabhupada writes there like a madman with no occupation, like a jada Vyakti. He relinquished his material body and his consciousness also, right? He merged into the self, Brahman. Again, don't mistake, it is the impersonalist. Prabhupada had written in the previous, and one who acts like a Brahman, not just thinking, acting like Brahman is also important. Actually speaking, Yudhishthira Maharaj had got this hint, right? When Narada Muni had come and to the palace when Dhritarashtra left, Narada Muni had already hinted to Yudhishthira Maharaj that, look, you may have to leave this material world the moment Supreme Lord leaves the planet. Right? There was clear message. Once the Lord leaves, you also please depart. So he knew the hint from Narada Muni, and there were some external. Just a moment. Okay. What am I saying? Yeah. So Yudhishthira Maharaj had got this hint. Okay, the moment Lord unwinds the pastimes, he knew that he had to go back home, back to spiritual world. So Yudhishthira Maharaj speaks like, if you really see that 41, 42 and this verse, suddenly you feel like, he's acting like an ordinary living being. Okay. So Srila Prabhupada comments in these lectures, this series, he says he was closing his business. Yes, I remember. He was closing his business. What is a business? He had creating this body. Now I'm going to get free myself from this material energy. Okay. So that, why he did that? So that we all can relate to it. Real business his real business was what? He was just had to be a part of his pastimes. He was acting like a materialist and he had detached himself from the body and realizing that he is the spirit soul, eternal servant of Krishna. Right? So Yudhishthira Maharaj acted quickly. Again, he enthroned Parikshit, next king, Vajranabha, all that. And why? Because Yadavas were already taken away. He gave up all his garments. Imagine the king of the whole world living. This is easily can be compared with the current politicians, right? Many times Srila Prabhupada always comments on the current leadership, right? Yudhishthira Maharaj was doing this as a service. He was working. What he was working for. In fact, if you see the entire war, why it was fought, it was just to put him back on the throne. He was so unattached, right? 41, 42, 40, all this clearly say he went into yogic meditation as he was detaching from the body and the world. Jnana Yoga, actually Brahmanas, Kshatriyas are all taught in Gurukul. They had learned it as a part of education. Okay, what was his meditation? Like we saw, no, amalgamated the senses to organs, prana, apana, all that we read through, right? So in this, he says, in this verse, even the previous verse, he said, no, Tritva to Panchama, like five, five elements to Tritva and the three elements to Ekatva, means he was focusing like that. So, if you see the first line of even the previous verse, all this manifested in the material world is a product of Mahatattva Avyakta. So these are again technical. We need not get so much, worried whether we need to by heart all this. Should we go through this process? No. All this process is basically yogic process. Okay, what we do is not so detailed. Very clearly, we have our parampara, or what we focus on is purely devotional service, right? And I remember, I think it was in Bhagavad Gita, very clearly that aparayam itvam tanvam, that is Jiva Bhuta Mahabaho, one of the verses, right? In that, Prabhupada writes in the purport, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the only controller, and all living entities are controlled by him. So here, Parikshit Maharaj offered the kingdom to both, distant himself. Okay, he became Bahir Nischinta, not just no worries from the outside world, inside also, Antar Nischinta, no worry from inside also, right? So Parikshit Maharaj was now the king. He is supposed to enjoy the all these facilities, not me. But we, like I said, we are not going to focus so much on this yogic meditation. Why? Because we understand we are not the body. We have a sambandha gyan. That process does not apply so well to us. No need to perfect this method. Srila Prabhupada said it is enough that it is not enough that we are Brahman. We need to act like we must act like one. So we are all aware, right? In the third chapter, Arjuna asks, right? A little bit unwell, so please pardon me. Arjuna in the third chapter asked, right, why are we acting, forced to act sinfully, though we do not want to? In that it says bala. What is that bala? Kama esha, krodha esha, right? That lust and anger which arises from the mode of passion, that is your enemy. And explains how these two attach to us, right? So they encase this pure soul. Krishna says senses of beyond matter and beyond all that is he who is there, right? So the lust can be conquered by Krishna consciousness and act on the platform of pure soul. Okay. Right. So we had recently witnessed Gaur Purnima, advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance day, holy birthday or appearance day, right? So as we kept telling, these verses discuss about mystic yoga, okay? But our parampara, the purpose is different, and the method is also different. The method of renunciation recommended by our parampara is different. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us, did not encourage us to keep long beards and matted hair, right? He was always, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always clean shaven, always wanted us to chant the holy name, right? Gauranga Mahaprabhu, he came and told us it's a simple method. Many are doing this. Krishna Varnam Tvasha Krishnam. What is he saying that? Sumedasa. All the intelligent people are doing it, doing this yajna. Okay, this is the main sadhana given for us, right? Yeah, though it is Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, yesterday His Holiness Lokanath Swami Maharaj was giving a small class after the japa session. He said we add raga anuga into that. Ours is on the bhava, on the mood, focus more on the mood. It is raga anuga, which means deep devotional service. The focus was deep devotional service. Okay. If a person keeps chanting the holy name, Eka Krishna Nam, he can achieve Krishna Prema. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, right? We may be unqualified to worship Krishna, but just one Krishna Nama, we can get love of Godhead. How wonderful, right? So that is why whenever these kind of sadhus come, what we do, we take maximum advantage or the association of these sadhus. Our chanting, in fact, improves just by seeing these Shuddha Bhaktas, these sadhus. Remember, he did not have to take a japa session or a talk just by their appearances, right? That's why Srila Prabhupada has given us this wonderful process that is just before initiation. What is a class which we all have? We all have a IDC 10 offenses class, right? Why? Because before you start the process, you need to know who your enemies are, right? I agree it is difficult, but we must constantly try. Constantly try. I'll tell you my personal realization. Hope I have time. Yes. Okay. Last night, please don't think I'm, kind of glorifying myself. I had to tell this because the situation, I mean, how I related to what really happened couple of just the last 2 days. So I was in a I had got this infection, same dirt infection, and because the house was being cleaned, so I seem to have got picked up a small allergy. Because of that, my fever went in, and I had to sleep early by 7:30. So very tempted to actually send a message to Bhadrati Prabhu saying that please Prabhu, can you please do this class? I'm not in a position because cold cough and sweating was there. So but then, reason I'm saying this is because in the last 2 days, I saw servants of Maharaj. It could be Veni Madhav Prabhu, our other Gokul Krishna Prabhu, and all those people who were there here. You won't believe when Maharaj took rest, these people, wherever they got placed, they just crushed. Somebody is fallen on the sofa, we switched on the fan. Veni Madhav Prabhu was in our balcony. Imagine his head is resting on a balcony railing. I'm telling him, come and sit inside, sleep inside. He's saying, no, Prabhuji, if I sleep, I cannot get up. I'm so tired. Right? Somebody just, any corner, they're just fallen flat. There were about so many servants. Right? They were dead tired, but they were not giving up. Right? One of the devotees, at 11:30, we were wound up everything. And we thought morning Maharaj will come, so we need to clean the hall. So we were just cleaning the hall and ensuring that's neat. Tulsi Maharani can be kept. He's coming down and he sat along with us. We thought, why is he now sitting? He said, no, Prabhuji, 2 more rounds are there. I want to chant before I sleep. I mean, I really got inspired. Imagine this is not a one-off case. They again have to travel. This is what keep on happening. Now, last evening, that is the class where Loknath Swami Maharaj gave in our temple. He was talking about our dear Gurudev. So much of love and affection was pouring from him, pouring from their throats, right? You can see them, you can feel the love they have for each other, right? Always, whenever you see exalted devotees glorifying another, it is very, apart from just the words, it's very sweet, it's very, I can't just use words. Okay, what did he say? He says, our Guru Maharaj is unstoppable. He said victory flag and he said unstoppable, right? And imagine in a public forum, though our Lokanath Swami, His Holiness Lokanath Swami Maharaj is known for his Padayatra, okay, he was accepting it was our Gurudev who had, pushed him to do all that. Public admission in front of so many, it's not so easy. So then I was telling myself, after hearing all that, if I'm going to again behave like a normal person, so I just did some partnership with Aparna Mataji and said, you do the screen saving so that I can get some extra 1 hour 1 hour rest and then do this seva. Okay, so this is what I learned, that from seeing these people, we should also try and do as much as possible till our body is helpful. So back to this verse, Yudhishthira Maharaj just like switch on and switch off the bulb, like how we do. Instantaneously he closed his business, though he was ruling the entire world. Huh? with such glory. It was not as if he was doing glorious. Everything was fantastic under him. But why was he able to switch off? Because he was already practicing detachment. This is what we need to do. Last one example I'll give and close. In West Bengal, there was some person I heard it. His name was Chittaranjan Das. Some Britisher had fined him, and he was a very rich man. He had fined him so much money for some mistake, and he had uh, practically he lost everything. He became poverty stricken and he could not handle the poverty stricken. He died immediately. Okay. That is not the case. Voluntarily, Yudhishthira Maharaj gave up. He renounced order. Right. So whenever we see our leader is putting in so much effort, organizing the verses, seeing somebody, what will happen next week, all that. And just yesterday, Swarnadevi Mataji had posted this wonderful post of Amarendra Prabhu saying that if we have to, even if Bhagavatam has to come into our houses, we must have got years and years of service to Krishna. Where have we done it? Just because of blessings and mercy of Sri Vaishnavas and Prabhupada and our Gurudev, these verses, these Bhagavatam has stepped into our houses. So with this, I kind of stop here. If I've missed anything, because all these are verses which are much beyond my realization, I made a humble effort. Especially because last night only I realized that verse is 43 and not 42 because I had missed yesterday's class. Whatever I've said, please, if there is any mistake, please pardon me and you're free to add in any other points. Hare Krishna, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Rajanath Varadaraj Prabhu, for your wonderful class. And the flavor you have added is your own realization. Actually, many people they speak a lot, but self-realization is not much into the picture. So anyway, here Pandavas retiring timely. The time has come. The elder brother is proving himself. So he dressed himself like a beggar, like as if he didn't have any clothes at all.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed the royal kingdom, the whole world, because the Supreme Lord Krishna he re-established and he enthroned Yudhishthira Maharaj as king, king of the whole world, not just
Right.
India. And then imagine what kind of foodstuffs he gets. But he had just given up all of them and voluntarily he became dumb. It is practically it is very difficult. Voluntarily become dumb means we are at the acid test, just like um, we have a Vak Chaturya, but you are not supposed to speak. Then you are in a concrete test unable to speak. Then anyway, this Maharaj, he has decided to go to the forest and meditate on the Supreme Lord. And he had a habit of depending on the brothers. But here, when at his last stage, he had given up that one also. Actually, the Yudhishthira Maharaj was engaging all his brothers and relatives into the service of the Lord. So now that is also given up. Just like a deaf man, he heard nothing, and we can also remember that Jada also is in the
Yeah.
same situation. Jada. What we can learn from this verse is I always keep hearing from my Shiksha Guru, His Grace Srivas Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu. He says, yeah, when there is a situation, people speaking out of the box, you need to keep yourself silent. If you add one word to their commentary, then you are also involved in that. So we must be very careful not to speak out of the box, which is not related to us unnecessarily. Same time, in the unnecessarily affairs also we are not supposed to involve. By gradually doing this at the time of the death, surely we can imbibe a lot of practice, and at the end we can remember Krishna. We go back to Krishna. So thank you, Rajanath Prabhu, where you have very nicely explained with various analogies. And also His Holiness Loknath Maharaj visited your house, and your house has been purified and purified just by the sight of a sadhu. How much benefit we will get. So Maharaj was with us in our temple for more than 2 hours, and everybody got blissful. Okay, we will keep it open for others to give their reflections. Hare Krishna.